The Northwest, we're also going to be covering explosive stories. So stick around. We'll be right back. What is going on, guys? It's Adam McKay Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Tonight, we have a whole lot of things to talk about, so I'll get right through this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of myself, Dex, or anyone else with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. This is a live call-in show. Again, the number is 224-400-MARF. Again, you'll want to get in earlier. That number is scrolling right down here. That is 224-400-MARF. Again, just to remind you, you can get notifications through us. Go to marfooglenews.com and sign up for our push notifications. You can also sign up for our email alerts. If anything was to hit the fan, or if we knew 100% that something was, we would send it out through that system, not obviously through YouTube or DLive or any of the other platforms. Now, it is one thing that sets us apart is we do our due diligence to give you every single link. Again, a lot of people do that, but we put it in a very easy way for you to access. So if you go to our website, marfooglenews.com, you can see that we have a website dedicated to today's show. It's set up all the time, every single show. And then, again, look for this thumbnail. You will find that we have put every single article, every single tweet, every single document, every single video, and we actually update it live as the callers call in if they have a channel or if they have a video or if they have a document that they want to share. Suggested like a declassified CI document that we didn't know about and they just showed us. We would be putting that there. Last night, again, you have access to the DHS warning that they just put out, which is a huge deal. In just a moment here, we're going to be talking about a ton of crazy stuff going on. 26 perish in Yemeni. Insane thing there. 4 small earthquakes. Now it's actually, I think it's 6 or 7 in the Northwest. Again, the placement is what the crazy thing is. We're going to be talking about Army to deploy an autonomous bug drone. This is real stuff. So, again, this is going to be a good one. Let's introduce Dex, my co-host, and he will also be running the phones tonight. Dex, are you there, and can we do a sound check?
Hello, Adam. I am here, and hello, Foogle fam.
So you guys have just a plethora of things. You can go on a second device and check out, especially if there's any kind of video or something like a picture that you want to investigate for yourself. That is why it's really great to have that there. So to get right into it, a lunar gold rush could create conflict on the ground if we don't act now. And this will be explained now. It says that when it comes to the moon, everyone wants the same things, not in the sense of having shared goals, but in the sense that all players target the same strategic sites, state agencies and the private sector alike. That's because whether you want to do science or make money, you will need to do such things as water and light. Again, you need water and light to do any of these. So it says many countries and private companies have ambitious plans to explore or mine the moon. This won't be at some remote point in time, but soon, even in this decade, as we set out in our recent paper published by the Transactions of the Royal Society, this will spark tension on the ground unless we find ways to manage this situation imminently. I would say immediately as well. So, again, it says, so far, much of the debate around exploring and mining the moon has focused on tensions in space between space agencies and the private sector. But as we see it, the pressing challenge arises from limited strategic resources, such as if you do have something set up there. Again, this is almost like the show Space Force with what's-his-face. They do a satire based on Space Force. And they show the U.S. and China kind of battling it out and pranking each other, but kind of a deadly prank on the show Space Force. If you haven't seen that episode, again, I don't blame you if you don't. It's not the best show, but again, it's because it's about Space Force that I had to see it. With that being said, that's what they actually envision in the future is people battling it out on the moon. Now, I know that what some of you are saying is like the moon doesn't even exist. I know that there's a lot of people on the internet that don't believe space exists. Definitely question about the moon, just period. It makes you think. With some of the things that I found out this year and from really great sources, I just wonder, why is everybody going to the moon? What is the purpose? Is it really to mine, or is it to set up a colony, or is it to do something else? What is the moon? Again, these are questions that make you sound crazy if you even ask out loud. But that's okay. We're here to let you ask those questions. And again, we're not trying to answer them 100% definitively. We're just trying to be creative and, again, and ask the questions that really nobody asks. So what do you guys think? I've heard that people think it's a satellite, which it always faces us. Some weird things that have actually clicked in the last year that I just thought was kind of weird. Again, now I've shown you guys that they have now weaponized space, or at least what they call space. The DoD came out just a few months ago and said that they 100% China and Russia have weaponized it, after we have covered multiple mysterious satellites that we thought were weapons, and now they're basically coming out and saying, yes, they are. At the same time, there's been a lot of things on the ground that have happened that kind of say, well, how did that happen? And would they cover it up? Of course they would. If there was something used from space and it affected the ground, would they tell us? That is one question. And probably for safety reasons, they wouldn't. Or at least that's what they say, right? It says, important sites for science are also important for infrastructure construction by state agencies or commercial users. Such sites include, quote, peaks of eternal light, where there is almost constant sunlight and hence access to power, of course, with solar. It says, and continually shaded craters at the polar regions where there's water ice, which is rare, and the combination of the two, ice on the crater floor and a narrow peak of eternal light in the crater rim, is a prize target for different players, but they occur only in the polar regions, rather than the equatorial sites targeted by the Apollo program in the 1960s and 1970s. It says the recent successful landing of Chang'e 5's China targeted relatively smooth landing on the lunar near side, but it is part of a larger phased program due to take China's space agencies down to the lunar South Pole by 2024. So what they are saying is supposedly there is sun all day long, and which means, they can set up solar panels all over the place, have a constant, string of power there, and there is water. But to have both of those meet, that is a place where you would want to be. And apparently there is only very few places that have constant sun and have water to be able to use, because it's only so expensive or only so affordable to ship water up there that they use. And I believe with mining, you're going to need a lot of it, if that is what the actual goal is, and if this is even, really what they're doing. Again, though, that is a certain spot on the moon, and the moon is, again, not as big as Earth, and it's very much smaller, so they're going to be fighting over this. What I see, though, is we're set up for a fight or a team-up mode. Either way, there's something weird going on, and I think that they all know it's coming. So I just wonder what is actually happening. Is there backstabbing going on as far as, secretly, or, we're doing all this stuff publicly. We're cutting them off. The President T-Man is basically saying that he wants, nothing to do with China financially. And down the road, there's sources that say that he says it would be great if we were completely disconnected. They do that publicly, but are they teamed up in the background? I've heard a lot of people messaging me saying, I think that they're all part of a team. I think that they're all secretly working together. What do you guys think? I would love to hear your opinions on this. Dex, do you have anything to say about as far as us fighting over what is going to happen in the moon? Or do you think that this will even play a part? It seems to me like that this would be a pretty big deal if they ended up, is there gold on the moon? Is that what they're saying? Or is it the different things that they're mining?
Well, I think, it's funny. I was just watching a documentary tonight about, and maybe it was before, it was on Travel Channel, about UFOs. And one of the conversations they were talking about is how important gold was, right? And how important it was back in ancient times, and how they correlated it towards, space and the potential of aliens and whatnot. But then when they started to talk about in current times, they're like, you don't realize how much gold is actually used in technology, not just, in your laptops or maybe in your gold-plated, connectors for electronics, but even in all the space equipment that we're building today and the advancements we're making in space equipment. The gold is so significant to that. And I'm not trying to sound like I'm pitching gold, but the story of if there's a mineral like that on the moon or somewhere else that we can mine and find it, that it's obviously a key component to a lot of things that are going into the technology that's being built to go to space.
Well, and then now they've come out and said that some of these special meteors are basically covered in diamonds, in legitimate diamonds. They're diamond encrusted. The one that hit Sudan in 2008, they say, indeed was part of a huge, in fact, now they're saying it's part of a huge dwarf-size, planet-size meteor that is floating around our solar system, and that this thing is diamond encrusted. The whole thing is like basically just one diamond turd. Is this about money or is it something else? My theory is it may be both or something else, because I honestly, from what I know, is at the very least we will have destruction in the future. Everyone knows this. As far as there are certain things that we know are it's a when, not an if. Again, crazy stuff. By the way, MH, speaking of crazy, says, bless our country, Fugel fam, bring it 2021. We got this. Thank you, MH, for your generous support of the show here. I really do appreciate that. And then it looks like Brenda Loritz says, sponsor an American for $1.64 times 365. That's $600. Sponsor an American. I don't know if that's a thing you can actually do, but I don't think that sounds too crazy. And then let's see here. Love God's Plan says, where are the mods? I'm sure we've got them by now. Again, thank you. Looks like Rip Curl is in the house, and we've got several others. Thank you for popping in. And let's see here. Thanks for tagging me, by the way. It's much easier for me to see you in chat if you do that. I appreciate that. All right. So what do you guys think about this as far as that goes? Do you think that there is something else to this? Let's see here. Ooh, Bones says, and the Nashville event is showing signs of dew check. Oh, that's a touchy one. Again, after the show, we're going to go over, and I'm actually going to cover just a couple things over on DLive. So basically, you won't have to do anything if you're on DLive, but after the shout-out, I was going to say a few things. Huge news came out today. Drops Family Garden says, moon composed of 60% of the moon's crust by weight, followed by 16 to 17% silicon, 6 to 10% aluminum, 4 to 6% calcium, 3 to 6% magnesium, 2 to 5% iron, and 1 to 2% titanium. Huh. Well, thanks, Drop. That's actually pretty useful. Let's see here. Rashid Pham says, touch up your primitive skills. Awesome show. Been here for years. Well, thank you, Rashad. I'm sorry if I said that wrong. I appreciate that. Yeah, I would highly suggest everyone understand how to live without technology and without power, just in case. And that's not to scare people. That's just to hit you with reality, honestly. It says, here's what we learned about aliens in 2020. Now, there's been a lot said about aliens. In fact, this is no longer a crazy subject. The government has come out several times and kind of given little small confirmations of things. The military has come out and given a small confirmation of things. Of course, they told all of the Navy to start reporting every single sighting, which was weird, obviously. Again, before that, if you were in the Navy or something and you saw an alien, you kept that stuff to yourself. If not, you would say, yeah, I think I might have saw something. Maybe it was Russian, but you wouldn't say it was an alien. Now they are telling every single Navy personnel, if you see something, say something. That's literally what they're telling them to do. So, again, I would love to hear all of those reports. Think about the entire Navy now instructed to do that. Imagine over the last year all of the reports that have come in through Navy soldiers out in the water, out where there's no light to really take away from what's out there. Imagine the numerous kinds of situations where they can just see nothing but stars out there on the water. And half the time, I've never been in the Navy, but I would assume that sometimes they have kind of dark mode going. I'm sure they could see a ton out there. absolutely beautiful sights, I'm sure. But what else would they see? Do they see things that we don't? I really wonder if Navy, while they're out on the boat, I'm pretty sure that there's probably some rule against it, but having your phone and taking video out there. Is there videos from Navy personnel? And if they did get it when they were in the Navy and on a boat, would that kind of thing be shareable? I haven't seen many videos at all of, Navy personnel on the boat. Have you? I don't know. If you guys know about them, then let me know. It says, in a year when mysterious monoliths literally appeared out of nowhere, you'd think the first real detection of alien life would be a stone's throw away. Well, 2020 didn't bring any little green men, but it did bring astronomers closer to finding extraterrestrial life than ever before. It says, from organic molecules turning up around the solar system to mysterious radio signals finally being traced back to their source. It says, here are some of the biggest findings of the year about where aliens may be, and definitely aren't hiding in the universe. So it says, in September, Venus became the most popular planet on Earth when scientists discovered possible traces of the molecule phosphine in the planet's atmosphere. On Earth, phosphine, made from one of the phosphorus atoms and 3 hydrogen atoms, is mostly associated with non-oxygen breathing bacteria, as well as some human activities. The molecule is produced naturally by gas giants. Dex, I don't know if you caught that, but especially with possible Class 2 gas giant coming. That's kind of funky. It says, by gas giants, but there's no good reason why it should be on the hot and hellish world of Venus, which I believe that is actually considered a gas giant, isn't it? It says the researchers concluded, unless perhaps there is some sort of life breathing it into the planet's mysterious clouds. So that's weird in itself. So they're saying that this specific thing might be, something breathing it into it. So maybe I wonder.
And Adam, our gas giants are Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune.
Okay, so say those again.
Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune.
So Venus isn't one of them, huh?
No.
Why would there be a gas giant by Venus then? I don't know. I think that would be enough to say, kind of scratch your head there. And then, as exciting as it was, the phosphine discovery was met with strong skepticism from the scientific community. For starters, it's not even clear that the researchers detected phosphine at all. Their observations contained so much noise that something mimicking phosphine's chemical signature could have appeared by accident. So again, that was kind of, up and down. People get excited and then they get put down. And then it says how many intelligent alien civilizations are lurking among the hundreds of billions of stars in the Milky Way. According to a study published June 15th, the Astrophysical Journal, the answer is 36. It says, how did researchers arrive at that number? By taking a fresh stab at decades-old alien hunting riddle known as the Drake equation, named for astronomer Frank Drake, who debuted the equation in 1961. The puzzle attempts to guess the likely number of alien civilizations in our galaxy based on variables like the average rate of star formation, the percentage of stars that form planets, and the much smaller percentage of planets that have the right stuff for life. It says most of these variables are still unknown, but the authors of the new study tried to resolve them and with the most up-to-date information and star formation. It says their result is that there's precisely 36 planets in the Milky Way that could host intelligent life similar to that on Earth. But even if the researchers nailed all those unknown variables, it'd still be a while before we met one of our intelligence neighbors. Let's see here. This says, and more than 1,000 alien stars could be watching us. Basically, it says, but while we hunt for alien worlds, the aliens also hunting for us. That's the question motivated on October 20 study in the Journal of Monthly Notices for the Royal Astronomical Society, in which astronomers calculated the number of alien star systems that have a direct line sight of Earth, and therefore could be watching us right now. That's kind of a funky thing there. It says the team calculated that approximately 1,000 star systems within about the 300 light years of Earth could feasibly see our planet as it passes between our location and the Earth's sun. It says those skywatching aliens would see our sun dim as Earth passes over it, just as humans have detected thousands of exoplanets by watching for suddenly dimming stars in the night sky. I don't know why I'm having such a problem with this damn article. Again, so this is actually a super long article. There was a part that I'm not finding here, and it's okay. So the white dwarf part is actually probably it. I wanted to go by to, it says that FRBs are not responsible, or aliens are not responsible for the fast radio bursts.
Yeah, that one caught my eye.
So what do you think about that?
I don't know. I mean, sometimes when they tell us this, and you got to look sort of at the source. This came from space.com. But, when they tell you one thing, you just sort of want to question, is that just what they're telling us? Aliens are not responsible for FRBs. Well, could you, take out the negative there and say they are?
But they don't know what is. So how do they even say that? That's what I don't get. And then white dwarfs may be alien strongholds. About 4 billion years from now, Earth's sun will swell into a red giant, then collapse into a small, smoldering white dwarf. This fate is inescapable, and the odds of humankind fleeing to another star system are near impossible. Maybe if we're still around at the time, we could find a way to harness the dim light of our dead star and keep on trucking as a civilization. And maybe, it says a paper published earlier this year, preprint database, other alien civilizations are already doing the same. White dwarfs have been largely ignored in the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, or SETI. And it says the paper's author claims as a dead star is unlikely to host a thriving civilization, but white dwarfs do sometimes have planets in their orbit, and highly advanced civilization might be able to make their tiny sun work for them even after death. Astronomers therefore shouldn't cut white dwarfs out for their SETI equations, the authors write. In fact, maybe we should be looking to them first. And this one is a good fact. There was a lot of theories about, as far as if there were aliens, we keep looking for something, assuming that they would be like us. If they don't breathe oxygen, then it would be a whole different story. If you look at the makeup of Mars, I believe it's like 98%, carbon or something like that, whereas we're 76% oxygen and 22% this. It's like a flip-flop. So in another place, could they live off of something else? Really interesting stuff again, but they mention Oumuamua, which I think was a scout for something else. I do, and I know that a lot of people disagree with me on this, but I think Oumuamua was something else. I'm sorry. I think it was super obvious. The thing comes in. It's our first interstellar object ever. They end up naming it Scout, and the thing goes right by Earth. If you look at it, if you actually look at the trajectory, it went right by, and it just went right next to Earth. I mean, even it just right there, and then sped up as it left. Now, some say, because it was slingshotted or whatever else. It was weird. And if you look at the placement, and I looked at it a lot on the actual trajectory, it looks like it went faster after it should have sped up from the actual slingshot. Like it did two different speed accelerations, which, again, they don't talk about much. Why would it speed up and then bounce out? And then out of our whole lives, and everybody's been looking at the stars the whole time, a second object comes in. And they, of course, are saying that, there was an actual Harvard professor that suggested that this was probably a ship. It's a cigar-shaped weird thing. I don't know. It's pretty weird. Anyways, there's lots of really good stuff in this article as far as it summarizes a lot of stuff all in one article. You guys can go to it, marfugelnews.com. Again, really great stuff. 2021 could be a huge year for space. Here's what to come from NASA. Elon Musk, Richard Branson, and Jeff Bezos. It Says, after 2 successful flights carrying astronauts to the International Space Station, SpaceX is set to do it again this year. Crew 2, its second fully operational mission, is scheduled to launch a quartet of astronauts from Kennedy Space Center in Florida in the spring. Then in the fall, the company is set to launch Crew 3. It says, not since the space shuttle has NASA had routine flights to the space station from U.S. soil. If all goes well, SpaceX will become the shuttle's successor, filling a major gap in America's spaceflight program in a coming-of-age moment for what was once a splunky startup. One thing that I don't get is if we've had space out there the whole time, we've had these, worldly ground and air weapons. Why wouldn't they have thought of space weapons way before this? Now, I know a lot of you probably already know they talked about Rod of God technology long time ago. Is it just now that other countries caught up to that? That's one thing I wonder. Is it that, Russia and China actually caught up to the Rod of God type stuff? And if you don't know what the Rod of God is, go ahead and look that up. It's obviously been talked about for years and years and years, and now they're confirming it. They're also confirming DEW. So I believe the DOD gentleman said DEW directly in his speech, talking about how they've weaponized space, and that was right after the event in the Bay of the Root, if you know what I mean, which again was a very touchy subject. I kind of look at the stuff that you are not supposed to talk about, and then I think, okay, there's something weird there. Obviously, why do some things immediately get picked up by all of the media, right? And I mean, like, picked up, deleted, taken away, that kind of thing. Crazy stuff. Which, by the way, I hope you guys go over True Love Mom. Again, this is somebody who doesn't really need it, but I hope you guys go over and say hi and tell them who sent you. This is the one person in kind of that I've seen talking about it, and you will be surprised who I'm about to pull up. Again, check this out. Okay, so if you guys don't know Ryan Upchurch, he does music. He is a country singer / rapper. Again, I know that there's a lot of you that probably do, but he is one of the only people that did not one, but two videos on this event here. Not only did he call it out right when it happened, but this one, he also called it out. And I believe, actually knowing from a bunch of sources, that this first theory that he said here, the way, the analogy he used, that is 100% what I believe actually happened. And that's based on us knowing a chunk of stuff that we would never say. And he was just guessing. And then this video also, again, questioned it. So if you guys haven't checked out Ryan Upchurch, he's obviously in the millions of subscribers. He never noticed us down here, but go over and say the Fugel fam sent you. If not, also check out his crazy tons and tons of music. Billboard artist. The guy is insanely talented. But anyways, he's one of the few people that does have a huge influence that has asked questions. And that to me is huge. There's only a few people that I follow in that realm that actually talk about stuff. And because, if they get censored, it's a big deal and it causes a headache for all of them. So it's really awesome when they actually use that to actually say something. Of course, as much as I think that you guys would fight for us, and I know you would, it's nothing compared to when you've got 2 million people screaming at them. They actually listen and they get coverage, news wide. We disappear then, maybe on a side little article here somewhere, and then we're gone. So anyways, make sure to go over to one of these. This is getting really weird and odd, Nashville, this here, and go and say what's up from the Fugel fam. All right, and say, thanks for pointing it out. It's crazy stuff. Late in the year, SpaceX is also planning to fly a mission for Axiom Space. It says a Houston-based company that has purchased a trip to the International Space Station for a crew of 4. Michael Lopez Algeria, a former NASA astronaut who now works for Axiom, which I think Axiom has some sort of significance here, would accompany 3 private citizens for the mission, among them Eitan Stib, an Israeli former fighter pilot. And then it says Axiom is expected to announce the other 2 tourists sometime in the future. Flying humans on its Falcon 9 rocket and Dragon spacecraft is only part of what's on tap for SpaceX. The company continues to test its spacecraft, Starship spacecraft, the next generation vehicle that looks like a flying grain silo, but Musk hopes will one day fly people to Mars. It says NASA hopes that it will be successful. The space agency is investing $135 million in Starship as part of its attempt to return astronauts to the moon. Musk, whose timelines are usually wildly ambitious, has said he hopes the spacecraft will be able to achieve orbit in 2021. So, I mean, we're not talking very far out. If there was to be kind of these space trips, for the people that don't believe it exists, I guess there's going to, come a point where we might actually be able to settle it. Or something mysterious will happen and they'll say, oh, we can't go up, or the program is scrapped, or, oh, we can now, take tourists to space, but, oh, we had to scrap it because somebody's, disappeared or something. I don't know. I guess we'll see. Anyways, pretty crazy stuff. Looks like it is a little bit behind. Thank you, guys. It looks like there's about 3,000 watching. Jason78, thank you for modding tonight. There is a lot of folks in the chat, so appreciate that. Smoky Mountain Gal, Rip Curl is still here. Thank you. Sherry McKinstry, thank you, and thank you for being here. Scrappy Cat, HW Liberty. We've got Ordinary Every Day. They want metal anomaly there, detection on the moon. Huh. Love Santa Surfing, says Nancy Daly. I'm actually wondering what you guys think there. Prince Charles, what's going on? Kev, don't bother none. Let's see here. Julie Size is here. We've got Viola Man. Says, I'm very curious to see space travel in my lifetime beyond the moon. That's almost what makes me want to be healthier, is just to see if it actually happens. Because obviously there's a lot going on. So as far as this goes, them taking all of these strides towards space travel, what do you guys think will actually happen? Do you think that we will see space travel for the regular person in the next 5 to 10 years? If not, let me know. And if, while we're on it, please comment down below. That is one thing that they cannot hide. Even if you are over on DLive, at some point, come over and just leave a comment, whether that be after the show or before the next one. Just take a stop by and comment what you think. Again, that's a question directly to you. I'll be reading them. I'll be hearting them. And I'll also be replying to as many as I can. So thank you guys for doing that in advance. That's one way also on top of that like button. I know you guys get asked, every single YouTuber asks you. I am humbly asking you to do that for me. Last show, we almost got to 5,000, I think, which is like a record. So thank you guys. I really do appreciate it. All right. Let's see if we can beat it. If you guys want to help us in a different way and protect yourself at the same time, I highly recommend an EMP. You guys know why. And if somebody is new and they don't, please explain it to them, because the EMP Shield is the same company that is not only working with DHS, DOD, but now officially on the DEMSO team helping protect the Texas grid, which has actually its own setup there. Again, this is, this isn't just surge protector. This is the surge protector for EMP. It protects against all 3 phases, E1, E2, and E3, and it can protect against the natural kind, solar flare protection up to 228,000 amps. Again, the last one was 160 years ago, and I just showed you last night that was when telegraphs, they said, were 1,000 times more resilient than the technology like cell phones and laptops that we have today, were 1,000 times more resilient, and they caught on fire. So just think about what happens to our cell phones, laptops, and everything else when we get a Carrington event type event today. we are not ready, and now a lot is coming out that tells us that we are nowhere close to ready for this. So, again, protect yourself. marfugelnews.com/EMP. It's 100% American-made, and it is a veteran-owned business. Support the good companies like this. All right. Somebody said Mockingbird. Oh, yeah. There's lots of good stuff that lots of holes you can go down. Thank you, LC, JC, for being here. Looks like Shastina, Christina Stutz, and Lulu. What is going on? All right, Dex, let's see. Remember to call 224-400-MARF if you do want to get in tonight. Let me close that out. Let's see here. And it looks like we have Tom, first-time caller. Love it when we get first-time callers. All right. Tom, you are live on Marfugel News calling from Arkansas.
You got me?
We do. What's going on? Me? Yes. How are you doing, Tom?
All right. Oh, pretty good, man. Got a little story to tell you. It happened a long time ago. This happened in 1962. This was the last week of school. My grandfather had to go to his hometown in Hondo, Texas. So we left that Thursday morning. We got down there Thursday night. Friday afternoon, we went to town, to Hondo from the farm. Well, me and my cousin talked my grandfather and my uncle. Well, the movie started at 7 o'clock that night, and it was over at 9. Well, just as we was coming out of the movie at 9, we just stepped out on the street, and this big flash of light. I mean, it was so bright, it knocked up. Well, when it come back on, just about maybe 15, 20 seconds after the flash, we heard this sound that sounded like a big turbine turning down. And then we heard the sonic boom, pop. Well, we didn't think nothing of that. We thought, because we was close to an Air Force base, we thought that an airplane had took off and hit his afterburner and broke the sound barrier. Well, we got on up, got to Grandpa at the store, and we headed back out to the ranch. The ranch is about 25, maybe 30 miles out of town. We got an old farm roads that are gravel fields. So you can't run but about maybe 35, 40 mile an hour. We're heading back to the ranch. Well, we come down this stretch. Well, me and my cousin, we're laying in the back of the pickup, and we're watching stars and stuff. Well, we see a shooting star, we thought. It shot across, come out about 1:45 on a clock angle, shot straight to 12 o'clock and stopped. And then all of a sudden it come towards us. And just as we was coming down the main road there, we go back to our part of the farm where there's 3 mountains there, little hills. Well, the star we saw was an orb. It come flying straight at us, no sound, and it come up to the edge of the mountains. Well, when it got to the edge of the mountains, it stopped. And it just sat there, and as we're coming up to it, we went ahead and made our turn, and as we got over to the side, it was illuminating the ground. And on the ground there was an object about maybe 75 foot, but maybe 150 foot size. There was 4 individuals. 3 of them were standing up on top of the craft and were carrying some type of firearm equipment. They looked like they were flight jackets, because they had little wrinkles in them and stuff, and they were all, I think it was either a gray or a brown looking type uniform. But we're within maybe 125 foot away from the craft that's sitting on the ground as the road runs beside them. And there was one person that was working on the side of the sport was so funny because it comes straight up. It was about the size of maybe an oval, and like it's within 50 foot of us, and it just watches us go on by. You know, I tried to get my uncle to stop.
You did cut out a couple times there, Tom. But we got you cut out just a tad at the very end there. Tom, can you remind me what year this was?
This is 1962.
And it sticks with you all this time after. So now 2012 would be 50 years. So this is now.
Yeah, I'm 70 years old.
Wow, that is incredible. And how old were you at the time? Well, you were 12.
I was in October. I mean, this was in the spring of 62, so I was still 11.
Wow. And you know, did your you said you were with your pops or your grandpa?
I was with my grandfather.
What did he say about it? Back then, they didn't really talk about this much.
No, we get on back to the house, you know. Well, next morning we get up for breakfast, and we ate breakfast like 5:30 in the morning. Well, we just got through eating breakfast, and we heard a car coming up the driveway. Ford car drives up to the house. Two gentlemen gets out. One of them's wearing an army outfit. I think it was either a major or a colonel insignia on his shoulder pads. The other guy was wearing a strict black outfit, black trench coat, and the typical black hat.
So like a Men in Black.
They come up to the house. Say what?
So like a Men in Black type scenario.
Exactly. Okay. They come in there, and my grandparents, my aunt and uncle, all them, they get them there in the kitchen table, and they sat down with them, and they sat there and said, we had a experimental dirigible crash last night. They were calling this a blimp, the craft we saw on the ground. Well, I've seen plenty of blimps back in that time period, and it was no blimp. And they made them all sign a waiver that they couldn't speak about this. Well, and they said they would be transporting the blimp across our property there. So they told us all to stay inside at a certain time. Well, me and my cousin, we stuck out to the barn. When we're sitting out the barn, we hear comes over the ridge there. You can see for miles because it's all flat land.
Wait, what can you hear? It cut out, Tom.
Coming flying over.
Tom,
and they had this.
Tom,
say again.
Tom, you said we could hear, and then it cut out. And
I'm sorry. We've seen these 3 helicopters coming, and they were all hooked with cables to this object they were dragging or pulling through the air. And the shape of it, they had all tarped up. They had these poles like a TV antenna, not a TV antenna, but radio towers across it, and they were using cables to tie it to fly the whatever the saucer-sized craft underneath it. It was a teardrop. It was about maybe about 75 foot at the front, and then it tapered back down to probably about 25, and it was about like 150 foot long. But thinking that was a blimp, and we weren't supposed to talk about it.
So did you end up signing a waiver, or you were too young to sign a waiver, huh?
Oh, I think we was actually too young, but what was freaky is when I went in the service, I was having to go through damn, I can't think of the name of it now, but it was a upgrade on my security clearances. And we got called in to the office and had two guys come in there, like the CIA guys, and they went over my records, and they mentioned about the me being there in Hondo, Texas at that time period. So they had us all documented.
So you're saying that years later, when you went, Tom, so you're saying years later when you went into service, they had it documented that you were there in a different state,
right?
Was it?
Say again?
They documented the event. How did they say it to you when you were in service?
Right. They said if I spoke of it, I would lose my security clearances.
And what did they say when you said spoke of it? What did they say? You can't. Do you remember this? You can't speak about that. Or
well,
did they say
brought up the whole story? They said that they named off this one colonel's name. He said he reported.
It cut out again. Sorry, Tom.
Yeah. I lost you again.
Yep.
But they said they went all over the same thing, They didn't actually make me say what I saw, but they asked me about if I seen anything.
Tom, could we keep your number and call you off air and possibly get what's you're in Arkansas now, but what state was this in? A lot of people are saying, where was this at?
This is Texas. I'm from a little town called Overton, Texas, and my grandparents grew up in a town called Hondo, Texas, and we had a bunch of farmland down there at that time period. In fact, we used to own the general store in Hondo.
And you said that they said it was a blimp, an experimental blimp, and that you just yeah. Wow.
No framework of a blimp. The only thing that was on the ground was this gray object, and like I said, it was about maybe about 75 foot across and about 150 foot long. But the little globe, but the orb was so strange, is because when it first come over the mountaintop, shined down a beam on the ground, but the beam didn't get any bigger than it did from the top of the where it left the ship at. It was just like a straight beam down on the ground. But freaky thing, it was a blue color. You know how these new headlights are? You got blue and green. Well, this had a blue tint just like that. The beam did.
Now,
and that
go ahead.
That doesn't see. It was like, you could see everything out on the prairie,
Now, I remembered you said something about water towers. Or am I just mishearing? Did you say something about a water tower?
No. No, no, I didn't mention nothing about a water tower.
Okay.
It was just the
misremembered
little mountains that we come up on.
Was there a water tower in Overton back then? Do you remember one being there?
Oh yeah, in town, yeah, but mainly East Texas, Overton, was an oil field town.
Oh, that's okay.
But
there's oil rigs. There's oil rigs right in the photo. I got a picture of Overton in 1962. Looks like there's oil rigs.
Uh-huh.
That's cool. All right.
Well,
It's a blast through the past.
Look at Kilgore. Yeah.
What was that, Tom?
I said, if you think that, go look in Kilgore.
Kilgore, is that what you said?
It's had over 70 wells inside the city limits.
Huh. Well, Tom, we're a little bit out of time, but I did want to hear the whole story. And can I contact you off air? At some point, I would love to get you on video. I'd love to.
Yeah, anytime.
Do a video interview and have you describe it. That's an awesome story, and what a crazy one. I mean, think about that. You said that you saw them with helicopters hook up to some huge object and then fly off with it, right? Wow. Well, I would love to do some research on the whole thing. Thank you, Tom, for calling in. And it's your first time call. Don't make it your last, okay?
I appreciate it. You have a good night.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a good one. That's almost, I mean, that would have been a perfect call for Unidentified Fridays. Man. I was just, I thought he said something about a water tower or something, but I'm misremembering. Just look at the town, though. It looks like there's like one main strip. This just reminds me of a typical small Texas town, 1962. I mean, I wonder what Overton looks like now, right? I want to see where he saw it, I would love to go to Texas and like, you know what I mean? I'd like to go sit where he said he saw it and then see the mountainside that he's talking about. What a cool story. And he's 70 years old. And to remember, a lot of the callers, too. Isn't that the Unidentified Fridays? We've gotten a lot of callers from some of the older folks. They're in their 60s, 70s, and even 80s, if you remember that one caller. I think she was 84 years old. We're getting just as many stories about 40 years ago and 60 years ago. Cool stuff. I was really fascinated by that. Let's see here. Seraphina, thank you for being here tonight. Again, my peeps over on DLive. Gone Girl 777. The one and only. Thank you for the diamond. I appreciate that very much so. Looks like a couple people dropped in while Tom was on the phone. Thank you, Bill I. Breckenridge. Thank you, Bill I. Breckenridge. Says, Jesus came to save us sinners. Ask him into your heart today, and you'll have peace beyond understanding in the storm. Much love and blessings. Thank you, Bill I. And then Seraphina, thank you for the super sticker. I didn't get to see how cute it was. Johnny Doom Wifey says, much love and prayers to all of the Marfugel family. From the entire Johnny Doom family. Jesus Christ is Lord. Thank you so much, Johnny Doom Wifey. Rashad Fam. Let's see if Brenda Loritz. That was, again, I got that one, but thank you. And let's see. I think I missed one, but just making sure I didn't. Nope, got that one too. Okay. And then Barefoot Lass, thank you. Wasn't that? It said, so cool. I agree with you. I would love to meet him in person and get a video interview of what he describes. I think that would be super cool. In fact, I think he should go. You know what I didn't ask him is if he's told that story to anybody. Because he would, that's something that Ancient Aliens or some, show like that would want to grab. Let's see here. 2.8 thousand people watching on DLive. Thank you so much. Or 2.7 now. Thank you, guys. So we've got over 5,000 here tonight on both platforms. Thank you so much for all being here. Looks like we're about to our first hour into the show. So we will get back to the news. Let's see here. And then Brian is on deck. Brian, you're going to get in here after a couple articles here. So remember to stay ready for Dex's instructions. All right, it's harder to say some of this stuff, but 26 perish in barrage at the airport just as newly minted officials were deplanning. It says the brazen attack, which included multiple projectiles, came shortly after members of a new power-sharing government arrived from here. The big SA, the big take your head off a baby. It says at least 26 people have perished and more than 50 have been wounded in a high-profile on Yemen's Aden International Airport today. Multiple projectiles struck various parts of the facilities just as members of a new SA-backed power-sharing government were disembarking from their plane shortly after touching down in their country. It says and officials have accused these guys, the Houthi rebels in the country, of carrying out the vicious attack. It says the Houthis, who have been fighting against Saud-led coalition for years now and have an expansive arsenal of missiles and drones, as well as other indirect fire weapons, have denied responsibility, which that is right there is just like a ding, ding, ding. So the people that like taking responsibility are saying, no, we didn't do it. Sounds like a Fantastic Freddy. Just thinking. But what do you guys think? Again, do you think it sounds like a Fantastic Freddy? A faith feat? A faith over feet, Jilly J says. If you guys get my drift. Moody Mama, thank you so much. And thank you. Last night, that was gigantic support. Thank you, Moody Mama. I really appreciate that. Quiet and Wise, that Chucky Gallus here, Mandy. What do you guys think? What do you think about this? Is this something that has greater significance? I think so. And right now we're looking into some other connections that are going on over there. I'm going to try to reach out to Stephen Benoon again. In fact, I'm going to probably text him or call him tomorrow. And I want to get some more collaborations going as far as some of the folks that are much better with all of the news going on over there. Let's see here. Jilly J, thank you so much. Zippy Moons, huge support over on DLive. Thank you for the Ninja Guinea. I appreciate that. What do you guys think? Do you think it was a Fantastic Freddy? And again, most people don't pay attention to that side of the earth, but I think it has greater significance. I'll go back to that. Now, it's actually not it says fourth small earthquake in 3 days hits Puget Sound area. I almost want to say that 4 hit just today. But again, it says an earthquake with a 3.2 magnitude reported Wednesday morning near Maple Valley is the fourth small quake in the Puget Sound area. In the past 3 days, it says that these earthquakes occurred at 9:30 a.m., 5.83 miles southwest of Maple Valley near Ravensdale. And on Tuesday morning, a small earthquake with a magnitude of 3.0 was reported near Carnation. This is, again, in a real weird area. I know this area like the back of my hand. It says one day after a smaller magnitude, 2.2, was reported at the same location on Monday. The Carnation quakes came after a magnitude 2.9 that was recorded about 4 miles from Monroe early Monday. Now I believe there was one in Duval as well. So this is, again, this is something that everyone that lives on the entire West Coast, not just Washington, the entire West Coast needs to pay attention to. Just before this, we had over a 5 magnitude off of the coast of Oregon. Now, if you weren't paying attention to the 2 earthquakes off of Oregon, that is right where the Cascadia subduction zone is. It is a guaranteed tsunami when it ends up popping. And we have no idea whether it will. I mean, it basically, it's going to either wipe out thousands or millions. We have no idea where what the numbers are going to be. It depends on really what time of the year. It's almost lucky for the CV thing going on at the same time, because places like Pike Place Market, where 2 million people visit in a short amount of time, if it happened on a summer day, or any day, mind you, since that tourism has stopped, I think that, if this does happen in the next few months or in the next year, then it's, that's like the one good thing about it. There's other events that, are going on at the same time. I'll update you about in a second here, but in this case, I hope that Everyone knows that not everyone knows about Cascadia. Now, if you are saying, I've heard about Cascadia, I know about it, everybody knows about it, that's BS. There are hundreds of thousands of people that live on the West Coast that have no idea what it is. There are people that are living in the inundation zones that are in the 100% for sure underwater areas after it hits, and they don't even know what it's called. Ocean Shores is a great example. That entire city, people go, who cares? It's only got a population of 5,000. The entire little outlet of or inlet of it is all hotels, and up to 1 million can stay there. They say up to 500,000 can stay there in a single weekend. So if you think about that, there's only one road out and one road in, and it's a 40-minute drive on a long road on a long inlet, and the town sits out at the very end. So when the earthquake hits, not only will the 5,000 people that live there, and by the way, all 5,000 believe, oh, if we hear those sirens, we're dead. Some shop owners actually keep boats on the side of their shops. You guys know why, right? They're thinking when the wave comes in, they'll hop in their boat and float out. Tsunamis are some of the roughest, most dangerous, most absolutely violent natural events that have ever happened on Earth's surface. A good movie that actually kind of does a good job, I want to say, is the one with oh man, it's about the Boxing Day tsunami in 2004. If you guys know the name of it, put it in chat. I know that you guys will get to the name before I can. It has of course, what's his face in it. It's about a real family that survived the 2004 India tsunami. Let's see here. I know there's somebody's Ewan McGregor. It has Ewan McGregor in it. That's right. Yes. What movie was that? Let's see here. I need it. The Impossible. Great. Thank you. Now, The Impossible was basically that all of the family, including the 3 kids, survived. The 2 little twins, he basically jumped into a pool, and somehow being in water when the water hit stirred him up, and the 2 kids ended up hanging onto trees. The wife and the son, she got battered up, got infected, got all sorts of things, multiple projection things, survived somehow. But that movie, one thing that was great is they took multiple surveillance cameras of the event, and they said it was one of the most realistic movies as far as their scenes, their reenactments of it. And when you see that, you go, wow, that 250,000 people died. This next one, it's going to be way worse because it's not little shacks and shanties. It's incredibly populated urban areas. So I want to make sure that everyone, and that includes everyone's family, knows what the risks are with the Cascadia subduction zone. It runs all the way from Canada all the way down to the beginning of California, and it will be a 9+ earthquake. This is not a centralized kind of little earthquake. So Seattle, in Tacoma, 30, 40 miles away, they feel a lesser shock. No, it's like the same earthquake that someone feels in Seattle, Washington, will be the same earthquake that someone feels in Portland, Oregon. That's how big this is. It is so big, in fact, that if someone is standing in Seattle, Washington, and somebody is standing in Portland, Oregon, they are both going to be shifted 45 feet from where they are standing. So imagine the land or the ground underneath you all of a sudden jolting 45 feet in one direction. It is going to be 5 minutes, and if you've ever been in an earthquake, or if you haven't, usually they're 3 seconds, 10 seconds, 30 seconds. And once you get up in time, that when you check your watch, in fact, how they knew the Japanese quake was the size it was, the scientists just happened to be doing an actual conference on it in Japan, is they looked at their watch. When it goes over 2 minutes, the longer it is, they know by that what the magnitude is. And after it went over 2 minutes, all of them started to panic and knew that this was big. This is going to be an absolute insane event that no one will ever see again in their lifetimes, or they won't have a lifetime after this. 21 states are preparing for this. So I just want to remind you. Again, I'm working on a project. People go, well, where is it? Again, a lot of things happened, again, including CV. But on top of that, I'm doing it by myself. So, in the meantime, I want to warn everybody on the West Coast, but not only that, this could knock out power for the rest of the country, and they've already now talked about this. We've shown you the articles and the studies that are being done. If the entire West Coast loses power, there's a good chance it will overload. All sorts of things there's all sorts of events that are going to happen. Arizona is preparing for people to be walking from California. That's how bad it's going to be. It's going to be like the mural in Denver Airport where you see everybody walking with packed bags. Really scary predictive programming there. And I believe it will bring, and as you guys know, I actually did an interview with Chris Goldfinger, who is the lead seismologist. He has his own TED Talk on the subject. If you guys haven't seen that, it, again, only reaffirms we are not ready. On a scale from 1 to 10, they say the entire West Coast is not even at a 1. And we're all brick buildings. So it's going to crumble, then have a wave within 15 minutes. So just to remind you, this is the time more than ever, because of these smaller earthquakes and the earthquakes off of Oregon, everybody needs to have a plan. You need to be ready. And even if you're on the East Coast, you need to be thinking about your family members out west and realize that 21 states are preparing for an earthquake that supposedly will only affect 3 and Canada. Why? Because this is something that is so big and so this is the kind of earthquake that creates mountains in a few minutes. This is the kind of quake that changes coastlines. This is the kind of quake that can trigger Yellowstone, which would affect you on the East Coast. Again, that Chris Goldfinger confirmed that a quake this big could change the time of day. It could set the earth on a wobble. It could put the earth out of touch. It could, and I've now seen new studies that says that it could quicken the pole shift. So if it happens and then all of a sudden snap, then we're really looking at craziness. We don't even know what we would be looking at. So please get your stuff, and besides everything else that's going on this month, I would hope that out of all of it, you have your bags packed, or at least a go bag, that you have a plan with family, you know where to meet, and understand that after it happens, get to high ground if you're anywhere close. Their quote is that everything west of I-5 will be toast. That was an actual quote from the FEMA, one of the top people at FEMA. In fact, at the time, I believe it was the lead at FEMA. So remember that. Moving on, again, if you want to follow the earthquakes, go to marfugelnews.com. Also, I would highly suggest following Dutch Sense. If you guys aren't already, I know a lot of my audience is. Great guy, but he also has almost a constant coverage. If not, if you already have seen Dutch Sense, make sure to check out Copper Tropicals. Has a backup run of all of the quakes happening. They have an alert, a bell that goes off when the earthquake goes off. Great channels to follow. Army to deploy autonomous bug drones that spy on enemies more than a mile away. It says the British Army will deploy bug drones that can spy on targets more than a mile away. The tiny machines can fit in the palm of a soldier's hand and be flown in heavy winds for missions up to 2 kilometers or 1.2 miles away. It says that they weigh about the same as an iPhone or iPhone 12 Pro Max, and it says that they have a 40-minute battery life that covers flying, recording, beaming video back to the troops while they are said to be able to cope with any weather. It says generals hope that they prove a major boost to tactical missions. James Gerard, principal technology at Bay Systems Applied Intelligence, said, quote, even in the toughest weather, the bug can deliver vital tactical intelligence on what's around the corner or over the next hill. It says working autonomously to give troops a visual update. Now, there are far more secret, stealthy ones than this. They said that this is a bug drone, but by the looks of it, this is just a tiny drone. I know that they have drones way crazier than this, and we've actually seen it. We've seen it more on TED Talks than on actual military devices. This is cheap, and they can make thousands of them. One thing that trips me about this is that they can make thousands and thousands of them. This is basically, this is almost to where, consumers can buy something exactly like this. 40 minutes is a long time. I don't know if that's normal for FPV drones, but FPV drones are about the same size. And if you have somebody who's trained on them, they're extremely useful. It says the device has a stealthy, low visual profile, and it says it can fly in winds of more than 50 miles per hour. The first 30 units have been delivered to the Army, who tested the drones in a series of trial missions designed to closely emulate the challenges the machines face in a combat situation. It says drones are already being used by armed forces around the world, the form of high-altitude unmanned vehicles fitted with surveillance equipment or weaponry. So, pretty crazy. And then think about when this advances into little tiny weapons, little tiny stun guns or things like that. Pretty nuts. This is actually not as small. When I first saw the headline, I thought it was going to be very much smaller. If you look at kind of the things that are, in fact, I don't have it. I would almost use that for my thumbnail. There's mosquito-looking bots that now can fly. They've made them look more like the ones that are actually more readily available, that the ones that are going to come first, are actually shaped like a dragonfly. As far as their discoveries, the consumers... they're going to use them for hunting and things like this because it won't alert animals. That's going to be available in the next year. So that's not even as small, but it is cheap to make, and all the military will have it. So one thing I think is, if I see this after an invasion, I'm going to be tripping. I'm sure they're quiet as well. It says their use has been heavily criticized by human rights groups, with the USA and Turkey among the countries using drones to target enemies away from their borders. It says the EU and the UK are both said to have plans to use high-altitude drones to spot refugees and migrants in the Mediterranean Sea and the English Channel. The drone delivery comes amid a period of huge uncertainty for the future of British armed forces. The head of the UK Armed Forces warned that there is a risk of a new world... Look at this. The head of the UK Armed Forces warned that there is a risk of a new world conflict, right here, if current smaller conflicts escalate out of control. Prime Minister Boris Johnson and then announced $16.5 billion in extra funding for the military over the next 4 years. That's a big bump up, after they already declared back in Theresa May days that they were going straight for China and Russia. What do you guys think, though? We're going to get Brian on deck. Brian, make sure to follow Dex's directions there. And then, of course, if you guys want to support us in a different way, if you have not gotten yourself a virtual private network, now would be the time. There is more cyber crime now than ever before. If you don't want your identity or your hard-earned credit score to just go away to some crook, then it would be highly advisable that you have a virtual private network. If you use the code MARFUGL on one of the highest-rated virtual private networks, it is going to get you up to 70% off, and you get protected. It is very easy to use. You just turn it on and off. There's even a mode where you just literally push one button, and it does it all for you. All you have to do is download it and, of course, sign up. marfugelnews.com/VPN. Remember to use the code MARFUGL. It is a virtual private network that basically hides all of your data, and it can hide your IP from the bad guys. Okay, Dex. Let's see here. Let's get Brian on. And let's see.
Aloha.
Hello, Brian. You are live on Marfugal News.
Marfugal, thanks for having me on.
Hey,
how's it going? Aloha, everybody from Hawaii.
Hey, mahalo. Now I've got a couple pictures here. I'm going to pull them up, and it says you fold the $100 bill, and it gets you this. So let me pull it up.
Yeah, so I've, I'm kind of into this sort of thing of these subliminal messages, and they, do things before it happens, sort of like approval by the masses of sorts. So I came across those things from, they redesigned the bills in the late 90s, and then right before in 2000, right before the big event in New York. And a lot of those people that, a lot of the same fold, the same kind of thing, and it kind of showed a progression of what happened with the towers, I don't know what I can say or what I shouldn't say.
Well, yeah, September of 2001, it basically showed a scenario that was very similar.
That's what I think. I mean, some people say, you're reaching for it, but it's the coincidence of the exact fold and the exact angle. So they recently redesigned the 100. So the 100 used to be just a trail of smoke, no towers. But this one, it's interesting. I've been trying to figure it out. Some people say it's like a missile going into the ground. And I actually had a trigger to think, it could be a variety of different things. It kind of looks like a syringe, I guess you could say.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Which would be interesting, the CV. So if you zoom in on it, it even has the little markings of all the levels of a syringe would have.
Oh, weird.
And it's like if you actually push down on it, that's what it would look like, not where it's, and it even shows like a little, almost looks like a gassy type of CV, not the exact circle with the spikes on it, but a little weird gassy thing above it. But then I started going around and on your wavelength of talking about like earthquakes and upticks and especially Cascadia. I've been following a lot of that too.
1 second, Tom, or 1 second, Brian. I loaded up that video that you showed, and it started playing the audio. But no, continue going.
Oh yeah, so I've been following a lot of stuff like you've been really helpful on becoming more aware about the Cascadia and the changes and everything else, and it seems to be that the Earth is on a big change for sure. There was one I wasn't aware of at all, the Canary Islands. Have you ever heard of this potential big event?
Yeah, so we talked about it about a month and a half ago. So,
oh, you did? Yeah, it went off recently, I think, another cluster of earthquakes. Well, anyway, I'm kind of getting sidetracked. The earthquake that happened in Croatia, right before it, some people submitted this beam of light that was coming down from the sky. It was like the most bizarre thing ever. It kind of looks like a T-shaped thing beaming down. I saw it on Mr. MB33's most recent video.
Let me try to find.
So I have a theory about what's going on, and it tied into, I'm going to come all over the map, but I just wanted to show you the $100 bill thing because I thought that was pretty neat and a little odd. But did you pull up at all? Have you talked about the 180 days for UFO disclosure in the most recent CV relief thing, Bill?
Yeah, we actually caller brought that up last night, and it was I'm trying to remember which one.
Crazy.
And we shared it out last night with the document. So yeah, they. Which is pretty crazy. Yeah, if you were, I know that our shows are long, so not everybody can sit through the entire thing. But if you want to see what we kind of talked about last night, you can go to marfugalnews.com. That last show was a great discussion about it. But yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Oh, right on. Yeah,
what do you think that deadline's about?
So this is what I think the deadline's about. My theory is that there's a lot of upticks. I don't know if we've been here before, maybe not our species, but Earth is really this old, that there's a cycle. Maybe the last major cataclysm, one particular species survived and it went to, the moon or whatever, Mars and underground bases and all that stuff. Maybe we're on a shift per se, like you're describing. Whether it's polarity, whether it's other things that are happening. And a lot of these entities are showing themselves more because maybe they know something's a bigger event's going to happen. I don't know. It kind of makes me nervous. I'm out here in Hawaii and, I'm in the middle of the ring of fire. But, yeah, my take is that I think that they're going to have to do something in regards to, I think they're going to help us in some way. I'm not sure.
Well, so there's a lot of
optimistic.
No. Well, there's a lot of theories, and of course, science fiction and movies have played it out many times. The kind of idea of that aliens step in last second before we nuke ourselves, or aliens step in last second before we get hit with a massive meteor. They help protect us. What's really crazy is that sounds like science fiction, but more and more things are kind of coming out that, like them popping up at our nuclear sites all these times, and there's so many stories of that. Now, do you see a lot of the stars in Hawaii, or I guess it depends on where you are in Hawaii? Can you see the sky, and have you seen these?
I'm on the Big Islands. Well, I'm on the Big Island, and on the actual Great Conjunction when Jupiter and Saturn were really close, 1 degree of separate or something. Kilauea went off, actually created a whole layer of fog. So that's been interesting. It's popped on that day, and so the last week it's just been hazy, really, really hazy, and I can actually only see Orion's belt as well as Jupiter and Saturn. It's kind of weird. But
so, do you think it's weird that that people don't put that 2 and 2 together, or there's no proof? Like, so the Great Conjunction happens, and then Kilauea pops just out of nowhere. It's like, obviously, this whatever's in space or the events that are happening may have an effect on what's on Earth, just like the moon has an effect on our tides.
Totally, yeah. There's a lot of climate forcing theories out there where it has a lot to do with more of the sun activity. When there's solar winds. Ooh, that was another one. Solar winds effects comes from the sun, and then the hack company of this big data breach, the company name is SolarWinds. That was weird.
Yeah.
A lot of weird, it's just weird. I think it's all connected. I think the sun, I think there's a virus from within that's affecting, quote unquote, the CV. Can't say it, but also the cyber attack. I think there's a lot of things that are upticking towards that thing. Who knows what it is, but yeah, I do think there is a correlation between the alignment of the planets and the big gas giants and the sun, and it affects a lot of things to do with our precious planet. I think we're on the third planet from the sun, which is I think it's like the cradle of life in our solar system.
Well, Brian, we're out of time, but thank you so much for calling us and bringing us to the picture of this bill. I've never seen that one. I've seen the other ones, and I've seen the tsunami one, but I've never seen the one with the rocket or the syringe, which is actually really crazy. Great catch there.
Yeah.
Well, Brian, thank you so much,
and
thanks
for having me on.
Don't be a stranger, okay?
You got it, buddy. Take care.
All right. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Mahalo. Everybody that I've met from Hawaii is awesome. I want to go to Hawaii and hang out with you guys. Oh, wait. I think we have another Hawaiian on the phone. Yeah, we do. Why don't we just do back-to-back Hawaiians right now before we get... And then coming up next, we're going to be talking about that. Crazy stuff. And let's see here. All right, Dex, let's have unless you have anything to say about the bill. I've never seen that one. I actually have never seen.
No, I haven't either. And I'm getting Mike on the line now.
Okay. In the meantime, thank you, and thank you. The Vigilant One says the U.S. military believes Iran is preparing a major attack on U.S. facilities or personnel on January 3rd. Okay, so I wonder if I can... Okay, I don't think I can show that. Or, I mean, there's no way for me to flip it over so you guys... That comment is extremely important. So, I have told you guys, T-Man actually told us straight up that there was... they were planning something bigger than September and makes that look like nothing. Okay, it looks like we have our caller, though. We'll get back to that. Vigilant One, that is a great comment. Guys, check him out. Gone Girl 777, thank you. Texas Rob Vault 111. I believe marital law is coming, and you guys know what I actually mean. The other, yeah. He didn't spell it wrong. I just purposely did that. Marital law. All right. Hey, what is going on? You are live on Marfugal News.
Aloha, Marv.
Aloha, mahalo.
Great to talk to you again.
Mike, a.k.a. Maui's Racing
Mike,
Realtor.
a.k.a. Maui's Racing Realtor. There we go. Yeah, we got it. Hey, I guess it's Hawaiian Caller Day. Aloha, Big Island Brian. I'm over here on the North Shore of Maui. So we have a little different view, but very similar days.
Well, yeah, and beautiful weather. So Mike, someone who I'm very jealous of, you and Brian, so what's going on? It says a scenario for West Coast. Can you spit that out?
Yeah, your title prompted my call tonight. I've been wanting to call, but it hasn't really, I haven't really. I wanted to get this together, that together. But your title today, you say we understand very few people know about Cascadia, but nobody knows about the Helena Slump. I'm sure Brian does on the Big Island. The Helena, do you know about that? Have you heard about it?
No, I'm not going to say I do.
Hilina Slump. Okay, the Helena Slump is what we all call the big crack on the Big Island. And there is literally a big crack. In fact, the last Kilauea eruption, that big crack was right along all those fissures. I'm going to back up a little bit. Volcanoes form round islands. If you look at all the Hawaiian Islands, they're all kind of round, maybe together. But if you look at Molokai, it's long and skinny. That island cracked in half, and half of it fell into the bottom of the sea. That was 100,000 or so years ago. It happens every million years out here. The way these islands are built, they're not that sturdy, and they collapse. That's part of the process. When Molokai cracked, the wave went over the top of Lanai, which is 5,000 feet. Now, granted, it's right next door, but that wave left here at 5,000 feet plus. That, I understand Cascadia can bring maybe 100 meters or 100 feet. This could be thousands of feet. The Helena Slump, when it falls, it is 4,700 cubic miles of earth. And when it falls, it's going to fall 3 miles. If you go to the Google map of the Big Island and look on the south, you'll see that drop off there. So if that chunk falls off, it's going to be aimed right at Chile. They're going to take the brunt of it. But it will affect everything Alaska to the tip of South America.
So this is
to give an example, 4,700 cubic miles, Mount Everest collapse. We're all familiar with that. That was 1 cubic mile. So this is 4,700 times that, falling 3 miles, 15,000 feet of water.
Now, how would this affect Hawaii, Maui?
All coastal cities will be destroyed.
Of Hawaii, or
what's that?
You mean all coastal cities of Hawaii, or on the Ring of Fire, or?
Yeah, all guaranteed. Yeah, guaranteed destroyed. And then the wave could reach Mexico City. It could be 2,000 feet. If it loses half, most tsunamis, we've only seen a few in our brief time here, but they lose about half. So if this leaves, call it 5,000 feet, give it the benefit of the doubt, there's two types of tsunamis: subduction, which you're facing, and displacement, which we're talking about here. And the displacement, however far it falls, that much water moves that direction directly. The reason this is a little more relevant right now, the last eruption, the Kilauea, when it erupted last time, began with a 6.9 earthquake, and that Helena slump section moved 3 feet. It normally moves 2.5 inches a year, and it moved 3 feet on the last eruption, and now it's erupting again. So, I don't know. With that, your show title, I wanted to call and talk to you about that.
No, obviously. So it's just as surprising to me that most people don't know about this, like people don't know about the Cascadia. Also, Cascadia is big enough to trigger Helena slump. I mean, I know that.
They could very well be connected.
Which is a trip.
Discovery, I think it was Discovery. I could be giving credit where credit's not due. Science Channel wife says, How the Earth Works, Season 1, Episode 4, is Could Hawaii Sink L.A.? And that addresses this issue directly. And they went to the top of Lanai, where supposedly the wave went over, and they cut in a place where they'd cut in. They said, look here, here's a white layer. That is indeed a marine layer at the top. And then they said, look, here's another one. Here's another one. So 3 times there have been calving events, just like icebergs, but with islands. Oahu is a known one. Molokai is a known one. We're not sure what the third one is, or my research hasn't turned it up. But 3 times the waves have been over there.
Now,
so the Pacific.
How often does it happen?
That day in the Pacific, really.
How often does it happen, or has it ever happened before?
Yeah, 3 times in the last 3 million years, about the age of the current Hawaiian Islands that we know about. You know, the ones, the 9 majors. They're just over 3 million years old when you get back up there. Oahu's older than that. Kauai is older than that. But Big Island is still growing, so that's the age range. And it's happened 3 times. It's been over the top of Lanai. There have been calving events all the time. Many. If you go to the Google Earth of the island of Molokai, you will see where this debris field is out there. It's 60 miles, 100-kilometer debris field from that collapse that we know, specifically about. I've actually gotten to fly helicopter by the sea cliffs there, the largest sea cliffs in the world. So beautiful spot. Very few people.
No, this is fascinating. I'm as you're talking, I'm pulling up pictures of the Helena slump and different things here, like this map.
It's real, yeah.
Map shows kind of the effects of it.
I was on the water, and when one of the captains told me about, the big crack on the Big Island, and the more I looked into it, the more relevant it became. And it ties right in with any kind of water issues that we're concerned about. It could directly cause every single one of those.
What I think is a trip is in the spectrum of things, the Cascadia subduction zone is along right here. And this is right here. This happens. So wait a second. Is this, so would it be an earthquake, or would it be just a piece of land falling into the water? So this would be purely, the
land falling into the water, mainly caused by an earthquake. It could likely be caused by an earthquake. The last earthquake moved it 3 feet. The next one, we don't know. It could move it more.
So it seems to me like Cascadia is big enough to shake the world, and it is actually relative. I mean, not close, but I mean, it's closer than many other.
Moving, yeah.
Yeah, that's that plate. That's the Juan de Fuca and the Pacific plate.
We're the donut hole in the Ring of Fire.
So here's the thing. That's the thing. That thing falls. I mean, it would probably cause a kind of a local earthquake. But the big deal with that is the tsunami. With the Cascadia,
right.
It is an earthquake that's going to shake the entire plate, and that could actually trigger that too. Maybe that's why they're so worried about it.
Yeah.
That's pretty enormous. That's
we
crazy.
have 10 minutes. So my wife and I, our disaster plan, because we talk about this stuff, is if we feel the shaking, we go up. Just immediately go up. If we feel big shaking, we go up. 100 feet might make a difference. 1,000 feet probably will. We live at 700-foot elevation, so we're safe from all but the biggest ones. But yeah, they're still out there,
I'm guessing from your name, I don't believe I believe you've called in, right?
I call it a second-time caller.
Yeah.
Yeah, second-time caller. I chat I chat with pretty much everybody in the chat.
Oh, I know
every night.
You've been here a long time, and I really appreciate you. You're not on the Big Island. You're on
Maui.
Maui.
Sure.
Okay. So, all right, and then the second thing you want to talk about, and this is really big deal. Maybe is this why you're probably watching me, or how long you've watched me?
This is one of your favorite topics, and I've wanted to talk to you about it, but I just again haven't called. But if you don't mind going a little long,
No.
I have
So
some firsthand data on it.
Okay, Hawaii missile alert. You were there, I'm guessing.
Yep, January 8th, 2018. It was our first night in the house I'm sitting in right now. It was our very first night. That morning at 8 a.m., the cable guy shows to hook up our cable and our internet, which means all we have are cell phones. And we have a roommate who lives on the East Coast, so he get up early and talk to all his friends, does all his East Coast stuff. Well, he came out staring at his phone like a ghost, asked my wife, "Did you see this?" And she was doing something. She didn't see it. She looked at her phone. She had it too. He had it. And I sleep a little late because I was working a little later then, so I was sleeping. And, what do we do? My wife yells, "Mike!" And they brought me downstairs and showed it to me. And during that point, I knew that they had agreed to an Olympic truce, that they weren't going to do anything crazy, the you know which guys I'm talking about. They had agreed to that. And so it didn't really ring to me. But what did ring with me was a story I saw. I follow Jeff Rentz. He puts a lot of good info out there. And he had talked about there had been this exact same missile alert happened on Guam over the radios months before. I sent you a link to that. So and the same thing, it was attributed to, the radio guy pushed the wrong button. But Guam is a market of 120,000 people, and it went over the radios. I think it was 6 months. You can look at the timeline. The dates are all there. I don't have it written down. Then we get hit on the cell phones, a market of 2 million people. Okay, we get hit on the phones. Oh, they pushed the wrong button. I think it was within 2 weeks, Japan gets hit over the TV, 50 plus million people. In my eyes, they were testing the different markets, the different ways to alert people and how everybody would react versus the radio, the cell phones, or the TV. So in my eyes, they were just testing us. It's never happened before. It's never happened since. On the one piece of info on the fishing boat, at that time, I was on the water. I was selling activities, and no fishing boats go 100 miles. The fishing boats are, the longest one is 10 hours. Most are 6 or 4 or 8 hours, and they go 10 to 15 to 20 miles offshore. 100 miles would only be a commercial fisherman. It would not be a tourist. So that whole story, the moment I heard it, had some holes. It started sinking. So that's my firsthand data from, out here, like I said, North Shore, Maui.
Well, so as far as the events, I don't know if you've followed, but this has happened many more times now. In fact, I did a show a couple months after this, as far as the false alarms.
I watch all your shows and here and there, but those three happened in succession in a very close succession over the three medias. And that was the vibe I got from it. That was all back then, 2018. And I watch all your shows, and I know there's lots of craziness going on. So that was the vibe I got from that.
Do you watch KHON 2? KHON 2? Is that your main kind of?
Occasionally, not typically. No, you're my main news source.
Oh, well, thank you. So
the local stuff we don't follow too much because it's all Oahu. It's all Honolulu bad news, Honolulu grief, Honolulu problems. It's very, very rarely anything Maui related. So we just don't watch.
So the main confirmation for us, and so like Dr. Michael Sala did a piece on my early video because I wasn't in Hawaii, as far as when this thing happened, and people so I off camera I'll tell you the company, but again, this is a private thing that goes on, and it's actually probably going on over this weekend. It's a private company that does stuff for high-end tourists, and it is a very specialty reason. So again, but those people were being interviewed, and the reason that I believed it is because they said that Kahan too were interviewing them, and then all of a sudden it went to like a KFC commercial and cut them short and never went back to him. And when I said that, which was passed on to me, my sister was on Maui, and she was good friends with these people. Basically, what happened is all these people ended up commenting. Hundreds of them said, "Hey, this was on the TV. The guy was talking about it, and then they just cut to commercial." All these people saw KHON, and it was
they
like
happened to be touring the center at that moment.
They also,
a little weird.
Oh, I know. They were touring the center, and they accidentally
at that moment
pushed a button. Do you remember when they first said that the Hawaii missile alert was he accidentally pushed a button? Then it came down. It was a drop down menu.
44 minutes later. And I had no TV news. I had no internet. All I had were cell phones, which were jammed up. It was a bit tense.
So you probably remember, but I think I said that I believed that this might be a test on how people would react and how people drop their kids into the...
We talked about that in the sewer manholes and stuff, all that, yeah.
I mean, and one guy punched... This is so crazy. And Jim Carrey has wrote a book now. I used to love Jim Carrey, but now I can't really stand him because he takes all the stars that have taken political approaches, all the comedians that have taken a political stance, I just can't stand it. I'm like, anyways, but he wrote it because he was on
series, The Grinch killed him.
he was on the island, and that he's just a good example. He said it changed his life because he thought he had 10 minutes or 45 minutes to live, and there was nowhere to go. When you got that alert, basically you thought you were dead. I mean, there's nowhere you can go. I'm sure people went out. People punched people off of motorcycles and stole their motorcycles, only to 10 minutes later realize that they were idiots.
Yep. Where my mind went is they're not going from Maui's about 150,000 people. Oahu's 1.2 million people. Oahu has 11 military bases. There's two high value targets on Maui, the airport and the tech center that runs the satellites, the GPS stuff. I'm upwind and around the corner from both of those. And they're not going to bomb the North Shore of Maui. They're not going to bomb the 6,000 hippies here in Haiku. We feel pretty safe, and we're upwind if normal winds prevail. So I'm all, hey, if it's real, I feel we're safe and we're not here accidentally. I came downstairs. They woke me up. I came downstairs. I said, hey, I'm going to process. You call your moms, tell him you love him in case it's real. I'm going to go brush my teeth because I don't want to die with stank breath. And then we came back down and talked about it.
I got to visit you, Maui. If I come to Maui, would you be willing to come and meet?
I got a guest room for you, bro. I got a guest room right here. You'll have to put up with my cats and chickens. But whatever. We get fresh eggs, and we got a smoker for Traeger bacon, and we'll take care of you. Love to see you out here.
We've got family,
and spend some time with you.
Well, I'm definitely wanting to come there at some point. So, thank you for the call.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it out too. We're chatting. Ahmad Chance Spillane, and we've chatted a lot, and he gets the same guest room offer for being a solid guy. And so that's for you guys, and it's so nice out here. The people are nice, the weather's nice, and it's a beautiful place to be.
My sister visited there and ended up staying 8 years, so I get it.
Nice.
Well, thank you so much.
Where did she live? You remember?
She worked at the Hilton, or the what do you call it, the Grand Wailea. And then she lived.
The Waldorf.
She lived.
That's the Waldorf.
Yeah, she did wedding. She did like the very fancy wedding for really, really fancy people. Yeah. But she ended up.
We probably talked to her, and then we decided we couldn't afford that and got married on the beach.
Well, I never got to visit her house. She had a house that was open to the water and open on two sides, and it was supported by the Waldorf. So they actually paid for her to live on the water in a 3-bedroom home for her kids and stuff. She has 2 kids, and they were all set.
That's great.
And then my nieces and nephews, every time they would visit, they looked like Hawaiian. They looked Hawaiian. They looked like native. They were so dark. Yep. They're white.
The little surfer kids we call Groms.
Yep.
They're little Groms, little surfer kids.
Groms. That's great.
It was great talking. I know I went long, but it was I wanted to chat, and the title seemed like a good time to call. So I appreciate everything you, Dex, the mods, the Fugle fam. Yeah, stay strong.
No.
We got through 2020. Let's bring 2021. Come on, we'll take it.
No, it's great. Hey, Maui Racing Realtor, thank you again, and you are awesome. You've been here since the beginning. That was in the very beginning, so I have no problem going long for you. Thank you so much. Have a great night. Be safe.
Dex has my digits. Stay in touch.
All right. Have a good day. Maui Racing has been with my channel since I started, so that's really big. I really do appreciate. I really appreciate the people that were there when I had nobody watching, when I had 5 people watching, when I had 7 people watching. Again, people think that you just overnight. That's what I don't get about new creators, is they don't realize, like, I did streams for no one. Like, no one. Like 3 people. I got excited about 10 people. I was like, that's so cool. There's a room full of people watching me from, wherever on earth. I was really excited the first time I got 10 people watching. So I never take it for granted that you all watch. And I really do appreciate the people that push like, that share, that comment. I truly do appreciate all of you. So thank you. I appreciate all the new people. Core Q's. Thank you. Jonathan Esparza. Thank you. Tons of new Grumble Nuts. Thank you for joining us. Welcome, Grumble Nuts. Speaking of grums, Rider of Chaos, thank you for following. New people here. Kahaja Flygirl, thank you so much for your support tonight. Drove in a Ninja Pearly, Happy New Year. Adam, Dex, and Mods, Fugle family, EMA family, thank you. Pearl, thank you, and thank you. Vault 111, again, amazing piano player. If you haven't watched him on DLive, he played Christmas songs, and I just thought he was amazing. Again, thanks you, Vault. I appreciate that. Gone Girl 777, VIP Gone Girl, thank you so much. Yatu just followed. Terena EF, thank you for following. And John Gatt, Minnesota, thank you for following. Gentle Moss, Marf, what are you doing staying there? Well, I've moved twice. The first time I thought I was far enough, and I talked to an expert for my dock, and he said, "No, you're not." So I moved again. So I'm pretty safe as far as the tsunami goes. The earthquake, you got to move like 3 states. I got too much family here. What about the people on North Sentinel Island? Ostuo says. Good question. Love you, Fugle fam, says Kimberly Clemens. Kaja Flygirl, thank you so much. Gone Girl 777. Yes, Stephen Banoon posted Conflict is coming, only with the big W. DFW Jackie, very near, talking about Conflict. Zippy Moons, thank you so much for your big support. Ducharme, Scott from OZ, thank you so much. All of you guys being there in the background, supporting the show, supporting independent journalism. Thank you for supporting us. I cannot say thank you enough. Fugle fan, thank you for gifting out Marfia badges. Thank you for all of the people that are on this adventure with us. Thank you. Maui Racing Realtor, thank you for gifting Fugle fan. Actually, I guess you received one. J9, thank you for the call. Can't say enough. All right, now we're going to cover the kind of depressing stuff. Really good articles. By the way, these 2 articles about the false Japan alarm, I covered this, and again, this never happened before. Like Maui said, this was something that never happened before. And then all of a sudden, somebody accidentally, if you watch the investigation and how it changed, the thing that really bothers me about the false missile alert is that how obvious it was that we were being lied to. It is so blatantly obvious that it bothers almost everybody that looks at it and goes, okay, common sense. This has never happened before. And then all of a sudden, a button was pushed. They changed the story 4 times. Then they actually gave the guy, or the woman, maybe I think it was a guy, a promotion. The same person that accidentally pushed the button, they said, oh, we've relieved him because people were pissed. People dropped their kids into manhole covers People dropped their kids into the sewers. People stole motorcycles and drove off with them. People stole boats and just rode it out. Absolutely stunning. I mean, it showed people what their real colors were. Some people said goodbye. I'm surprised nobody took their own, life. After that happened, they said it was an accident. Blah, blah, blah. It was an accident. They pushed the wrong button. Then we find out that it's not only a scroll down, option, click warning, drop down, warning, drop down, warning. Are you sure? Are you sure? Then it changes to, at the time they thought it was real. So that's why they did it. Then the official investigation said, they were all watching Netflix and they were total derelicts. Okay, so what happened to Japan? Japan, same exact thing. 50 million people, all on their TVs. Alert goes out. The one before that, Guam, like he said. The one in California, in Brown County, I believe it was. There was so many different ones all in that little period and then never again. There is something so wrong there. It's bothered me to this day, and I really appreciate him calling in on that. The mistake took place at a tense time in the region following NK's largest nuclear test to date in September. That was such a big one, man. And I'm telling you, there was so much weird stuff that went on. So much weird stuff. And right around that, they tested the doomsday alert. What the hell did they hide? All right, Rapture soon 2020. Blessings, Adams, Dex, and the whole Fugel fam. Jammer 1, you basically equivalent, you're working as a mod, so you don't have to donate. Thank you so much for that. Happy Marfugel New Year. Happy Marfugel News Year. Thank you so much. New Year's to you guys. Seriously, it's crazy out. Unco Webs, thank you for following. Gambleman, thank you for following. Welcome all the new people. All right. Canada to require air travelers to test negative. That is according to the foreign minister. It says Canada will soon require air travelers to test negative for this before entering the country. What do you think about that? As additional measures to protect health and safety, Canadians of the government of Canada will soon require air travelers to test negative. That's craziness. What do you think about it? Moving on to the next one. California confirms first case of new CV. Again, this has been talked. To be honest, I've seen the fear level go down to almost zero. So yeah, I could see that. Like, because people now, even the regular posts on Twitter, it's like the ratio is 99.5% of people are like, I don't care. And it's just crazy. This came out, and now it's definitely, the level has gone way back up. So I could see why the timing on this is pretty crazy. It says California has become the second U.S. state to identify a case of the new one. So if you've seen, again, you see the new strain after watching the newest flick, Songbird, you know what to do. You get scared. I mean, this is scary stuff. And Songbird, the timing on that, and it's so crazy how they made Songbird during this. I mean, it came out of nowhere. I mean, they did that in 8 months? Most of those big budget films take so much longer than that. And let alone the idea of it just popping up out of nowhere. That's crazy. But yeah, when, since millions and millions of people saw that movie, you'd think they see this and they're going to go, oh my gosh, this is really bad. And then, that would cement fear, I guess. That's crazy. But again, there's another strain. This is scary stuff. So read the rest of this article on marfugelnews.com. A super CV now in California after 2 Colorado National Guards feared to be the first U.S. So I don't know if you guys realize this. I'm going to call this right now. Things are about to get a lot worse. I remember when Seattle was one of the first or the second U.S. case of this period, and I went to that hospital. I went to the hospital where they were keeping the person, and they said that robots were serving them. Real crazy stuff. I went to that actual hospital, and I sat there, and it was so funny. At that hospital, a doctor comes out not wearing anything when they said everybody was, and it was just so funny. I go, hey, there's somebody in there, and he goes, oh, really, there is? I thought that was weird, that he didn't even know that this person who, back in the beginning, they said it was like an outbreak situation where they had glass and guards, and only one person could go in and out. That had full-on suit, and they were only serving them with a robot. Remember, at the very beginning, we thought this was like, they didn't know anything, so they were treating it like the movie Outbreak, So I just thought that this is crazy. There's a new one. So all I'm saying for you guys, prepare your board games, prepare your Legos. Get your TP. This is Songbird in real life, or at least it's going to play out like that. That's my belief. And probably good timing since some crap is about to go down, apparently. Anyways, if you don't want to be tracked and traced for any reason, I would highly recommend an eDeck bag. Put your phone or your device. All Fugel fam should be having something like this, but also these can protect against any kind of RF signal, including these kind of work as basically Faraday bags for electronic key fobs and things like this. Remember, you can just go to marfugelnews.com/eDeck. There's also the utility bag. If you go to the website through this link, it has a window so you can access your phone still, or your device, your laptop, any device you put in there will be safe from tracking and tracing. If you just want to use it if you want to go somewhere, and you just don't want people knowing. As you may know, all phones were updated with a tracker, basically a health feature. If you go in, this is a really creepy thing. If you're new and you don't know about this, go to your iPhone and go to health settings, or settings, then health, and then you'll see there's something that's there as part of the new update. You probably didn't even know it was put there, but it's a tracker. And you can turn it on or off if you want alerts. They say it's off by default, but a lot of folks just don't believe it. It's up to you, really. Anyways, Dex, let's get our next caller on. Looks like we have Cosmo.
Adam, we have about 3 minutes left on the YouTube stream, so folks need to get moving over.
All right, so just so you know, at 2 hours, it's going to go from YouTube to DLive. We're going to talk about some things, okay? So Cosmo's call, let's get him on right now. If you haven't learned how to follow DLive, make sure to go to marfugelnews.com. Again, after 2 hours, it's a nightmare processing on YouTube. We did go a little bit long, so again, the show continues just somewhere else. Again, go to our website. It actually shows you exactly how you can click watch on DLive. Boom. Right here. All right, Cosmo, what's going on?
Not too much. I should have asked Dex. I'm sitting at a desk and talked with Dex. And it's a Wikipedia page for the Space Act of 2015. It's a pretty interesting document, this, just because of the date and who we had in charge of everything at the time. I'm digressing. Anyway, in short, this here little piece of legislation basically is an insurance document. And if anybody really understands what kind of money is truly getting invested in something and how many people are truly working towards its development and progress, you know that people mean it when insurance paperwork starts getting drawn up, because that means that they got to start covering their behinds for any of the things that they got going on. Anyway, if you go down on the Wikipedia page and through the overview tab, a really interesting little tidbit at the bottom of the main big paragraph is that it, in short, states that the governing bodies of aerial administration didn't have any kind of real standing authority about how the entire exercise were to be overseen, seeing as how there was no pre-established criteria for how to specifically train personnel for on and off planet craft. And this would have been a lot of the conversation we would have heard back in that year time presidential setting when